This is the aviation version of a fireside chat with no fire, but mood lighting. So we can feel good about that. And it's a pleasure to be here with you, Ben, in your new position. I spent many years harassing your predecessors, so it's a great opportunity to get to chat with you on stage here.
Hopefully that won't continue.
We have no fire, but we have a hand sanitizer here, which offers a segue to really the elephant in the room, the question of the day, coronavirus. How bad is it for the industry right now? We seem to have surpassed the impact of SARS. Is 9/11 the reference point? What's the feeling?
So, yeah, I would not use 9/11 as the reference point. In terms of a health crisis, SARS could be used, as somewhat of a reference point. What is definitely different with this crisis versus SARS is the type of media attention that is getting. So if you go back to the early 2000s, the type of media that was in place, the trust that was put into media at that time, social media, it has definitely had a different an impact on the trust and the understanding of people who fly and others. So yes, it is a big event. It has a huge impact on travel right now. We're seeing that in particular to and from Asia, but to other parts of the world, across the Atlantic, South America, Africa, relatively muted. However, northern Italy, we have seen, as you know, some impacts there.
And in the time of SARS, you were at Air Canada, and Air Canada was hardest hit with the closure of Toronto. Are there lessons from that period for either the reaction or what might be expected?
Yes, so Toronto was the epicenter in North America during the SARS crisis. So the initial, the initial impact on Air Canada and the industry in and out of Toronto was quite severe. But there was a rebound relatively quickly. We did see the capacity return within 3 months. We did see demand return relatively quickly as well. It was less than 6 months before we had reached the same level of demand, and then going into increased demand the way we've seen over the last decades in this industry. So it was relatively quick once there was better understanding of the virus. Once the authorities have put in place measures to reduce the transmission, we did see a relatively quick rebound.
And looking forward, whatever happens, Corona is weakening airlines, and some more than others. After 9/11, after SARS, there was a wave of failures of consolidation that arguably yielded Air France-KLM as the first cross-border airline merger. Looking ahead, is it likely that what's going on now is going to trigger another wave of change in the industry?
In terms of consolidation, personally, I would say yes. There are quite a few weak carriers throughout the world, and in particular Asia. So we are seeing that. In Europe, we see the same. France, over the last few months, you've seen 2 failures. So most definitely, I believe this will accelerate consolidation.
Do you think that airlines, or will A4E be calling for any kind of relief from European or other authorities as a result of the impact of coronavirus?
Yeah, well, A4E, we've just come out this morning with a formal request to put on hold the 80-20 rule for slots. This is something that will greatly help airlines that are impacted by slots as we work through this crisis. We think this is something that is should be, this is not a large request, so we're hoping to get that in place as quickly as possible. And then any taxes that can be lifted that are uniquely associated with our industry or temporarily lifted would also greatly be appreciated by our industry.
Okay, I think some of that probably will come back during the course of the day. I think if coronavirus hadn't hit, the main topic today, because the main topic in this town would probably have been the environment, which I know is what A4E wants to focus on. There is so much focus now on the EU Green Deal, on the environment. Airlines have been talking for a long time about efficiency and environmental issues, but no matter what happens, airline growth, at least pre-coronavirus, was outpacing efficiency gains. How concerned are you as the industry that you're going to get pulled into some kind of environmental program that you currently aren't foreseeing and isn't within your plans?
Well, look, we get new taxes all the time. I think all of you are aware. New taxes imposed on our industry for under the guise of sustainability. Many or most of these taxes do not go toward reducing our emissions or improving our efficiency. So I think it's very, very important that truths get out, and if these taxes are to remain in place, and many of you know we are lobbying hard against those taxes, that the money that is collected gets put towards actual sustainability programs. As you know, one of the fastest and most efficient ways for airlines to reduce our impact on the environment is to invest in new technology, and all of us at A4E are doing that. We put a lot of pressure on the manufacturers to come up with more efficient airplanes. The group that I represent, Air France KLM, we have recently placed huge orders for new aircraft just this year, and we'd like to, if possible, have more money to do that more often. And the money that we are spending on taxes that are not going toward that would obviously, in our view, most definitely be more effective if they could go into helping us invest in newer technology.
We'll come back to that in a minute, but on the environment, industry's plan, Corsia, how effective can that be? There are a lot of people who are skeptical that it can actually meet the goals, and especially as social demands increase. Are you confident in it, or is there concern that it won't do enough?
I think we're, as an industry, we are committing to, being neutral by 2050, and we're working on a plan to get there as quickly as possible. We believe through all different types of processes and programs that not only ourselves but also customers and all of our partners throughout the value chain are doing the same. So, I'm quite optimistic that we can make significant inroads into reducing our footprint.
And can passengers do anything? For example, when I buy a ticket and I have the option to sign up for an offset program or something like that, am I just assuaging my guilt, or does it actually make a difference?
Most definitely makes a difference. And, we would encourage all of our customers to do as much as they can or as much as they're comfortable, not only with programs like that, but, invest, support any sustainable programs that are there, maybe not directly associated with an airline.
And on the other side, there was some discussion, a lot of discussion of this at the press conference this morning, but what the EU can do, the single European sky. It's been going on for forever. Is there any chance of something actually happening? Do you see any hope of progress?
Sure. I don't know if you were here during the press conference, but I think it was Carson who mentioned that with more focus on the environment, this gives us an added boost and gives us another opportunity to pressure governments to move faster on ensuring we have a single European sky. Also, we mentioned that a lot of these taxes that are in place, there is more money now that could be earmarked toward moving faster along creating the single European sky.
And do you see? Is there a feeling yet of a political will to do that? I mean, you're in Paris, and France has long been one of the worst offenders. In your conversations, do you get the sense that the environmental pressure is filtering through to discussions of air traffic management?
In particular in France, it's it's a complicated country when it comes to a lot of these balances. Yes, it's definitely a topic. There are strong differences in opinion on you know, the speed, timeline, and what part or who should go first. But there definitely is more pressure, more attention, and definitely more discussions. So we're hopeful that we can move toward single European sky as quickly as possible. We're hopeful that France is not going to be blocking it.
I'd like to come back to the issue of taxation. There are a lot of environmentalists who say that taxation, whatever impact it has on airlines, if it dampens demand, that's not a bad thing, because it's growth of air traffic is a significant contributor to greenhouse emissions. Why shouldn't this be a way to control the impact of aviation?
Well, maybe I'll put it on you. Has have the recent taxes or the taxes that are imposed on us, has it reduced your your desire to travel? Have you canceled any trips?
I can't say. Maybe I would have taken more trips if fares were lower. So,
well, look, we're seeing an increase in demand. Our industry has been in that way for many, many years. There's been dips here and there during certain crises, and we continue to forecast that we're going to have additional demand going forward. So there is, you talk to our customers, there is a strong benefit in many people's mind to traveling, to connect people, to ensure the world is open. We also we believe that airlines, we have a responsibility to ensure that wealth is there for future generations. But I do not believe that taxes damper demand for travel.
So if they don't dampen demand, I guess a counter argument would be, so then airlines are actually a very efficient mechanism for collecting taxes. I mean, a lot of these taxes that passengers pay, you're not paying them, the passenger pays. You're just simply a method for collecting it. So why not load them on?
No, I firmly disagree with that. As we've said numerous times here, we would like to get as efficient as possible. Single European sky, new technology, these are just two examples. Taxes that are being directed to other programs or into general revenues, in our view, need to be invested or need to be directed into specific programs that help us become more efficient. So if we do have taxes imposed or taxes that are already in place, our push is to do just that. So it could be an efficient way to help us become more efficient, but definitely not used as a go-between for general revenues.
And when you go to governments and argue that taxation should actually be used rather than, you shouldn't just be a conduit for the general coffer, but the taxes should go towards boosting efficiency. Is there any receptiveness to that, or do they simply say, nice idea, thank you, we know how to run things?
No, I think, look, there's many stakeholders that would like aviation to become, more environmentally friendly, more sustainable, and taxation. If it doesn't help do that, I think we all have a strong argument that it's not doing what it's supposed to do. All these taxes that are imposed in the name of sustainability, and the money is not being earmarked for that. It's not truthful. It's deceptive. It's one thing if you go out there and say, this tax is going to be used for a specific country's general revenue. Well, that's something totally different. But to have the tax being called an environmental tax, a green tax, a sustainability tax, and if that's not actually what it is, I don't think that's helpful to anyone, especially airlines.
Flip side of taxation, flight shaming. How significant a trend do you think it is for the industry? Is it just a few pockets of different countries, or is this an actual ongoing trend?
Look, I think, as I said, demand continues to grow. Customers have choices. We want to ensure that customers maybe I'll bring it back to our employees. We get the best ideas for how to improve the footprint, sustainability of our industry from our employees. Our employees want to ensure that they are working for an airline or an airline group that is responsible. They want to feel proud of the industry they work in. They want to be able to talk about it to their friends and their family. We have, an internal requirement in all of our carriers to ensure that that actually is the case. So you just extrapolate that out into the public to say, is flight shaming going to be something that affects us? I think no. I think there's a lack of education as to what our industry is doing today, what it has been doing in the past. I think we can all be very proud of the investment and the programs that the airline industry already has in place. And by collectively and individually being a little bit more articulate as to what is going on, I think that'll put a little bit more pressure, or reduce a little bit of pressure on that particular scenario or phenomenon that we're going through right now.
Okay. We just have a few minutes left. Maybe if I can ask you on one other factor affecting the industry overall. A lot of the industry is very proud of bringing in new equipment. A lot of that equipment has been delayed coming online. Do you have a sense how big a factor this year? I mean, now we have Corona dampening demand, but at the same time, a lot of the supply of new aircraft, was behind schedule. How do you see those factors playing out in the industry?
Look, it's very important for airlines that we have our deliveries and big investments delivered on time as committed. It's very important. It's not new. It's something that we count on. We design a lot of our maintenance programs. We design a lot of our schedules on the expectation that the equipment that we've ordered arrives on time. And this, there is continued pressure on that, and we're not going to relent on that. And our main manufacturers, they're here today. I'm not shy in saying that this is extremely important for us and will be. Any contract you sign, any expectation that that you have, I don't think it's so unreasonable to have that as a prime issue. Then we're perfectly in our rights to increase our demand on that. But maybe just to further your question there, coronavirus, is that changing, or does that have any impact or effect on where we stand on that? No.
And it's not if you will, a blessing in disguise if demand is dampened at a time when the supply of new aircraft is slowed?
Yeah, you could say that. I mean, but we believe this is going to be a temporary impact on our industry. Hopefully just a short period here, and we're going to need the airplanes that we ordered in our fleets.
And broadly, in terms of planning, I mean, this industry, is one, just almost by essence is hard to plan and faces a lot of ups and downs and upheavals. Is the current situation any different, or just yet another, going crisis to crisis? This is the latest crisis.
Well, we've had, you follow the industry. You told me earlier that you're a bit of an aviation geek. So this industry is 100 years old. It's more than 100 years old. And there have been crises, every few years. The most recent large crisis that affected the industry was the global financial crisis. And then, of course, we had SARS, we had 9/11, we had the tech bubble burst. Then we had all kinds of airlines that went through bankruptcy and consolidation. So yes, this is the current challenge that we're dealing through, and I'm quite confident that we'll get through this, in the relatively short period.
Seems like a good optimistic note to wind us up on.